Hello and welcome to episode 175 for December 1st, 2015. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and host of the podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burn-to-One, special guest coordinator. And this week will be the editor.
You will be. That is a guaranteed, because literally nobody else is here.
Hey.
I don't know where Joel is. He had some sort of national duty where, you know, once a year, every single Australian citizen has to go into the outback with nothing but a pair of socks and a machete and survive for a week. It's kind of how you renew citizenship.
It's tradition.
Yeah, so he's doing that this week, and Ted is moving. So yeah, and I'm away because it's my birthday, so I'm going back to see my family. So you're the only one left. So
yeah, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess by the time this comes out, because it's December 1st, my birthday will have been yesterday.
How old would you be, Max?
I will be 22 years old.
Hey,
which is crazy because we started this podcast when I was 18.
Dang, brah.
We have been doing this for such a long time.
Dang.
I'm almost the age that, I'm older than you were. When we started, you were 20, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so when we started, you were 20. So I think I'm almost the age of Joel when we started, because I think Joel was 23 when we started. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy, because Joel is 5 years older than me.
Dang, man. Dang.
Yeah, or 4.5 years older than me. So, man, that is insane. But time flies.
The Becoming a Man podcast.
So speaking of things that fly, or rather don't.
You start a brony and then end a horse-loving man. Sorry, go ahead.
It's Thanksgiving in the States.
Turkeys don't fly, I get it.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I ruined your
I stole that one from Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
So yeah, I guess, you know, we talked about Thanksgiving last week because it was closer, but I guess you are literally in the middle of your Thanksgiving celebration.
Yeah, because like Canadians have Canadian Thanksgiving, right?
In October, yeah.
Yeah. So it's different, and so like this was this instead of celebrating like American Thanksgiving, you celebrate, you know, what is it? The basting of your birth, so to speak.
Well, I mean, no, that's what we call it. We call it the basting of ... your birth.
Yeah, okay.
The ellipses are actually. I'm really surprised. That's a regional accent.
Happy Canadian Basting Day.
It's not though. It's in October. It's not.
No. I was referring to specifically like today, like your birthday.
Oh, I see.
Happy.
So happy American Canadian Basting Day to you then.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good. You're actually having so you're having second Thanksgiving tonight, like the night that we record this on Friday.
Yeah, after all those Thanksgiving jokes. Yeah. After we're done recording here, I got invited to a second Thanksgiving by some sweet brony friends of mine in the Berry Tube group, and so I'm gonna go over to their place down in Portland, to the P-town, and have like Thanksgiving again. Like they're making like turkey and stuff.
Nice.
And, like, there's gonna be a bunch of Berry Tubers there. I'm just gonna chill and hang out and chat.
Nice. I do that as well because or I don't do that as well, but I did that as well this year because I went home for Thanksgiving. In Canada, Thanksgiving, the holiday off is the Monday after. Mm-hmm. So we have like Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday's usually when you have the dinner, and then Monday some people have like leftovers or some people have the dinner. Then it really depends on your family. Mm-hmm. And so on the Sunday, I ate dinner with my sister because my parents were trapped in Europe, but that's a story for the different day. And so I came back, and one of my roommates was having like a big family dinner, and he invited all the other roommates. So I actually did have a second Thanksgiving, the same as you this year.
Yeah.
So
That's
was
sweet.
It's always nice. It's always nice to have that.
Yeah, because it's like I spent my time with my family yesterday, which was a hell of a day. I can only handle so much of my nieces. And so like it was nice to be with family and stuff, but it's like,
but now we're done with that.
Only take so much of the family that are under X years of age.
Oh,
and
yeah, I'm on the same page.
Now,
definitely.
like today, I get to go have Thanksgiving again with friends and kind of unwind.
Mm-hmm. The nice thing about both of the Thanksgivings that I had was that the youngest person at both of those was like 18. Mm-hmm. So like everybody was at an age in which you could have a conversation and not want to smear your face on the wall afterwards.
So something happened yesterday during Thanksgiving, and I'm still sore because of it.
Really? Okay.
So my sister just moved into a new house.
Did you
recently.
get basted?
I basically, yeah. So my sister moved into a new house, and she has these wood floors, and she just cleaned them. So like, just
I see
basically
where this is
polished
going.
these wood floors. So basically, they're really dangerous, and you can't really run on them or do anything because like you will slip and you will hurt yourself. And
Theoretically, you can't.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was my youngest niece, who is, man, 5, 6, 5, something like that, somewhere around there, 5 give or take.
Young.
Yeah, young. She was in like, I'm gonna be a rascally little freaking bugger mode,
Sure.
and bug the hell out of Uncle, because that's what 5-year-old nieces do.
Right.
And she did the thing where I hate, where she's like, I'm going to latch onto the bottom of your leg like a goddamn possum.
Like
and
every
just
kid
hug
does at some
here
point.
And
Yeah.
never let go, because
Yeah.
I hate you and I want your soul to suffer. And so I know she does this. And so like, I always like push her away with my foot, or I run away and go like, no, like leave me the hell alone. And then I go to my sister and say like, get your demon spawn off of me.
That's like running away from a dog. They just chase you because they think you're playing.
So yeah, but that's why you run to the upper authority and like push them at that. But anyway, so she went like on the ground and she was like gonna try to hug my leg. So I did the only reasonable like cat-like reflexes thing to do when something is latching around your leg, is to jump away. So I attempted to jump away, and the jump was successful. Like the leap was like a good angle, and I had a good arc. It was a great jump. But
10 out
when
of
I
10.
came down to land, I'm landing on one foot on a freaking ice rink, and my foot hits the ground and just freaking slips, shoots my body into a complete like 180-degree angle, and just bam, like slam against the wood floor, like chest first. I hit with my left shoulder and like kept my head up and put like my hands down, so I didn't bash my face, and I didn't bash like my knees or anything, but like my entire left arm caught like the brunt of the blow, and just kind of just hit the ground, good and flat. And it was like, oh my goodness. And like, kind of, I didn't super knock the wind out of me, but I hit the ground fast enough.
You're lucky you didn't like injure your shoulder or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, my shoulder hurts a little right now, and so it's a little sore, and my neck's a little sore from kind of like the whiplash of it, how fast it happened. But
right.
Luckily, due to my sweet cat-like reflexes, I managed to catch myself and not like knock myself out completely, type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hit my beautiful face, like thank goodness. But yeah,
well, I can just envision that with you start with the grace of a ballerina and with the grace of a polar bear.
Beautiful jump slam face.
Yeah.
I just panded that super hard. Pandas are very not graceful.
I'm actually imagining right now. Do you remember that like short, like 2-second YouTube video of the girl that says "Go bwah"?
Go
Do you know that? Yeah.
No.
So it's like there's this little girl and she's holding onto a leash and there's like a dog attached to the leash. And so she's telling it to like go, and of course, like
it goes,
just like goes, and she's still holding on the leash,
yanks her?
and it yanks her, and she like smacks face first into the ground, and the sound is amazing. Like it's 2 seconds, and it's her saying "Go," like as she hits the ground.
r/watch kids fall.
It's like one of my favorite YouTube videos, and so that's all I'm imagining that happening with the sounds and everything. Yeah,
my favorite great. YouTube haiku is "I can't believe you've done this."
Oh, I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah, I love that one. But yeah, so I hurt. That was my Thanksgiving experience.
So now you're gonna do that again tonight?
Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully I'll be progressively more inebriated, so I won't feel pain as much.
I see. Yeah, fair enough. Is it gonna be the same people? I missed earlier. Is it gonna be the same people or different people?
At the second Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Different. It's not gonna be family. It's gonna be friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Remember?
Sorry,
yeah,
I missed that before.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Berry Tube crew.
Cool. Remember how I talk about all the time that people will send us tweets and they'll say like, "Oh, this moment was so funny," or they'll try to reference something and I just don't remember what we recorded. I've realized that I actually, it's not just that I forget it as soon as we stop recording. I actively just block out the memories of what we say on this podcast as we're doing it.
Yeah.
So like all that stuff we talked about earlier, like I know at some point we were silly and said some stuff. I don't remember a single thing of what we actually said.
It's talking about it to dump it out of your memory banks, right? It's just like you don't need to remember it when it's like archived on YouTube. So it's a way to clear your brain for like new information,
Maybe
new
that's
memories.
it. I've just gotten lazy at remembering things because I'm always recording it. So
is I've been reading like interesting things about like how your brain like keeps memories and restores things and like makes sure you learn things. And so like the bottom part of your brain area, whatever it's called, I'm gonna say cerebral or cortex because that sounds
No,
fancy.
let's go with
but it's
vortex.
probably
I like vortex.
Yeah, vortex. Except that's like, probably extremely wrong. But how it like stores your memories, and then whilst you sleep, it dumps those memories into like deep storage in your brain, and then turns those short-term memories into long-term memories. And there's things you can do that screw with that, like having a bad sleep schedule or staying up for too long, or other types of like drugs or inputs, that will like mess with that process.
Yeah, it'll affect that.
Which is fascinating to think like I'm like a computer. I store information in my RAM and then I go to sleep and it goes to my hard drives.
Yep, absolutely. That's a really good analogy.
So it's just like, if you think about it, this podcast is like said hard drive. You know, you got that short-term memory and you just kind of like you vomit it into the podcast, and there you go. It's out of there. It's out of your brain.
You know what I am remembering, Bernd?
Oh, yes.
I'm remembering that we are an art podcast, although it might not seem like it on this episode. So why don't we get to the art? We've got 2 art pieces, and then we've got a bunch of questions because we need to fill the rest of the time, and I thought it would be fun to do a bunch of questions. So
sweet. We'll blabber on more.
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of questions, but we're going to start with the art pieces, and I will go first. Okay. And it is called Tree Hugger by B. Epon.
Used to be Brado or something, right?
Brado or something. I don't know. But it's B. Epon. And it's a lovely scene of Tree Hugger, of course, because that is in the title, in a field in this kind of like, you know, almost like it's memory, you know, it's like a flashback to this scene that's being shown with her in a field. And I thought it was, you know, we know of B. Epon before, like we enjoy the artist, but like there's just never been an art piece that's so fully fleshed out that we've been able to feature them on the show before. So I'm really happy that they made this quite recently in mid-November, so we can finally feature their art.
Yeah, they usually don't make like a really fleshed out like art pieces. Like
there are lots of artists that do like little fun, cute things, right? And they never really like make big.
B. Epon is one of those artists. Where it's just like, this is not my greatest art adventure. It's usually just always really cute ponies, and so it's really hard to feature the artists that just make like little cute scenes with like little cute ponies. And like B. Epon's really, really good at making like, and making my heart melt with this horse here because it's really cute.
Yeah. So this is one of their more fleshed out art pieces, which is really awesome. And I guess where I'll start is, we were talking about memory, and to me this scene kind of seems like it's being brought back like a memory, you know, almost like in a show you'll have a flashback, and you have it's almost like the frosted glass effect, you know what I mean, where you're seeing it through this lens, this kind of hazy lens of memory, right? That TV shows will use, and so it's like a white vignette, and everything is kind of a little bit hazy and fuzzy and bright, and so it seems like this piece is kind of doing that. I don't know what the inspiration behind it is.
It definitely has that kind of tropey feeling of, you know, like whiteness, like haze, like how like back yonder when or whenever, like anime does that a lot and stuff. Yeah. So it's a really, it kind of seems to be not only around the edges but kind of pervasive in the entire piece, except for on the pony herself. So yeah, I thought it was a very interesting touch. There doesn't seem to be a lot of explanation behind it. The description is one sentence, so I don't know the backstory behind it. When you start applying that sort of narrative to it, it's kind of cool, because you could think like maybe this is like a really fond memory of Tree Hugger, right? And so then like who would have fond memories of Tree Hugger? So like there's got the Fluttershy like Tree Hugger dynamic there, right? So I'm kind of curious if this is maybe trying to be like a representation of like a really fond memory like Fluttershy has of Tree Hugger, like looking upon her said significant friend, what have you, like making her like a little headdress of flowers. Yeah,
well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was almost envisioning like, well, you know, as you know, my memories, I don't see myself from a third person, so maybe this is Fluttershy's memories from when she's creeping in the woods and stalking Tree Hugger.
I don't know. Normally when it's like a creepy stalkery memory or something like that, it's like fuzzy and in black and white. You know what I mean?
I don't know,
that's usually
rose tinted lenses. or rose tinted glasses. Anyways, yeah. As always, or I guess not as always, because some people might not know this artist, but B. Epon makes incredibly cute ponies. I love his anatomy. His anatomy is always done so well. And just in this piece, I really like the facial expressions and kind of the light look on her face as she's just kind of blissfully lying there, enjoying making her flower necklace.
Yeah, Bupon's always really light on like the details and stuff, and so he likes to do like kind of the show like outline style with very subtle shading. And then he also does this thing with the eyes that I really enjoy, where he doesn't like make like a hard black pupil, or even like eyelashes and stuff. The eyelashes are usually kind of like a darker subdued like outline color, and then the eyes are actually like the full kind of like iris color, so their eyes always have like a lot of color and life to them, rather than like being like a cold, there's nothing really like cold hard and black in any of Bupon's artwork.
Well, yeah, and
you know what I mean,
if
it's
you look at
always
any
very
of his
pastel.
work, there's just no black in it. You know what I mean? Like there's
It's extremely
none of them.
pastel.
Yeah, like as you were mentioning before, and in case people missed that a little bit, the things on ponies in the show style, there are a number of different things that are just flat black, which is like the eyelashes and the eye like line that goes across it, and the pupil and things like that. There's a couple of other things as well, but these things in B. Epons, all of it is purposefully and consciously removed and replaced with just a darker version of the surrounding colors or the appropriate colors. And so I think when you mentioned earlier that things were soft, I think that's a great way of describing it, because, I think everything in his art pieces is always soft. The lighting is always soft. The shadows on the ponies are always soft, and in the same way, the color choices are also very soft a lot of the time.
It sets a certain mood to his work he's kind of, I guess, really known for. Ooh, that's my space heater. Turn that off.
Yeah. So it's interesting how there's very subtle changes, right, that he makes, but when you dig into it and when you look into why that might be, these things start coming together. You might not initially look at it and say, oh, well, the pupil color is not related to the shading at all, but I mean, isn't it? Because it's all soft. It's all nice and subdued.
It's nice because like when you look at his work like as a portfolio, right? Like all of it, like it all shares that kind of harmonious concept of like, I want to do everything very subdued, everything soft and light and like pastel and very kind of like subtle colors but it's very like consistent throughout everything that he's done, and so he clearly like really enjoys this type of art style and like this type of feeling, and he's very popular for it. And I feel like it's very like unique to him, because it is a very cute style and like extremely cute, and it lends that kind of like, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the show is so cute, right? Because it is more pastel, it's more subdued, it's more kind of colorful, like
Right.
those types of pastel light desaturated colors kind of lend to happy feelings, and like Beepon really reflects that, and using it even like to an exaggerated point in his artwork, to be like very happy-go-lucky and feel good. At least like that's what I think. That's what I get out of a lot of his work.
Yeah. Well, and there's also this effect too. I wanted to talk a little bit about the coloring and how, when I look at this piece, when you think about kind of the three primary colors and the three secondary colors make up a pretty basic color wheel, right? You have blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and then violet or purple, depending on your mood that day. And when you look at this piece, it's actually got all six. But the amazing thing is that when I look at this piece, I go, "Oh, this is an analogous color scheme."
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, there are analogous parts to it, of course, but it's got literally all six of them in there. You've got the warm colors, but you've also got the green in her, the blue in the sky, and the purple in her eyes. And to me, that kind of blows me away, because as soon as I look at this, I go, "Oh, yes, it's analogous, it's warm." It's like, well, just a second.
Well, it's also like the types of those colors. Like you could say there's yellow, red, and blue, right? So there's every part of the spectrum, but
Yes.
it's also like the types of those hues. So they're still very analogous and similar in the types of colors that they are. So it's kind of a very peachy red, and it's a very orangey yellow. And then the green is a lighter green, and then the blue is closer to cyan, so it's closer to a blue-green. So
Right.
the green and blue are very close to each other, and the yellow and like orange and blue are very close to each other, and so is the green and red that are also kind of pushed closer to each other. So like
Right.
those types of colors, like specifically on the color wheel, they're much more similar to each other than like being very polarizing. Like a complete polarizing example that I see very clearly is if like you can probably actually see it at the bottom of your screen, the Chrome logo. If you look at the Chrome logo, it's very like bright yellow, bright green, and bright red. Like the
Yeah.
colors in this piece, they aren't those three distinct hues, right? They're kind
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
more blending together. Again, more pastel, like lighter, but also just like on the color spectrum, they're pushed closer to each other, making them seem more harmonious because they're more analogous, to use those. Can continue using those buzzwords.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and I think a great way of kind of illustrating that is if you look at Treehugger's color scheme, right? Specifically, her green body and her red hair. But when you look at the actual hues, what you've done is you've pushed the green towards yellow, and you've pushed the red towards orange. So they're actually really not complementary colors. They're not opposites because they're both pushed in the same direction towards the same kind of center. And so they come off a lot less like these two crazy complementing colors, but instead almost look analogous, even though at a base red and green are complementary.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah.
No,
You're right. There's a manipulation of the colors in order to push them
Yeah.
towards certain sides of them.
Colors basically manipulate each other in a way. Like that's kind of the concept of color theory. Like this color around another color can affect it, and you see it like a different way. So
Right.
that like the way in which these colors are like laid out and presented, and like kind of blend in with each other, and are like pushed closer to like certain hues and not super polarizing. They make everything seem more like together. I use the word harmonious because like that's a word we use in art. What is it? Art appreciation a lot when we're talking about like reflecting colors or colors that are kind of like similar to each other.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think that there's there's a lot of conscious decisions made in this art piece, not only in the general style that Epon has, but also in the color choices specific to this piece, and it gives this sense of kind of a soft, harmonious feel, which is really impressive when you think about it, because I suppose conscious or not, but I imagine it's quite conscious.
Yeah.
It is.
He does it a lot with like any other
it does a
types
lot.
of work. So
it does a lot towards making this piece have a specific feel. And again, the memory-esque, white vignette haziness also, of course, contributes to that softness and that brightness and that sense of happiness and that mood as well.
yeah, this whole piece is kind of just very peaceful, right? Just like Treehugger like lying in a field, like making a headdress, like soft white vignette, like soft like colors.
I think much like P. Epon the artist, this art piece is at the surface cute, but really more than meets the eye, more than just the surface.
I also really enjoy. We talked about the background colors, but just also how the background is illustrated. You notice that it's really, really simplistic.
Oh yeah.
Like it's literally just flat areas of color, but kind of done in a unique way. So he's laid out like the large areas of red for like color reflection of her hair, and the large areas of orange and yellow like to reflect her kind of bandana, right? And also just to go like subtly with the green and like red in her hair because they're kind of like off analogous colors. But then he's erased them or like colored over them in white, if you notice. And it's just kind of like eaten out of those to show the colors or white background underneath them. And that's just like, that's kind of a cute, I don't know, unique little style like thing choice. And he's kind of played with the transparencies and stuff with them.
Yeah.
Like one part that I really like is the edges in which they're erased in the bush, like on the left and like the top of the tree, how like it kind of looks like leaves, like light showing through them. And also he does a little bit with the grass, kind of in front of the little headdress she's making, and also behind her tail. You notice like he outlined that hill with kind of like a like negative color, like a kind of like cut out almost.
Yeah,
it's I don't know, it's a nice touch.
Absolutely. Speaking of nice touches, signature is also really good. I think we talked it was either last week or the week before I'm not sure if you were there, Bern, but there was an art piece where basically it was just like, this art piece is great, signature not so much.
Yeah, it was a really bright color, right? And so put over the piece, and so it's very contrasting because it was bright blue to like a violet underneath, right? And so
I think so. I don't remember off the top of my head. There's been a number.
I remember it was the Celestia one where it was like 3 color scheme. So this one's like yellow on white, so it doesn't stand out a lot. So like when you're looking at the piece, it's like very subtle, and you have to look for it.
I mean, yes, again, people will say, well, it's not an effective watermark because people can crop it out. And it's like, yes, I suppose so. But at the end of the day, like...
You could crop the other one out, too. Cropping is whatever. Like, people are going to crop it, they're jerks. But the point is, like, as the art piece is presented as a whole on his DeviantArt, like, is the signature intrusive? And that's what we're looking at. Where, like, when we're looking at your artwork, we're considering the signature as, like, an intrusive element. Like, is it... stand because like my art teacher used to say, like, when you sign something or when you put your signature on it, you have to consider it as part of your artwork as a whole. So like in art, like painting 1, that was part of his critique, like one, how it was hung up on the wall, and then how you presented yourself to it. So he's like, even if you just put up tape and Sharpie your name on that tape, consider how you put that up, because how we look at it and like visualize it and critique it like will be relevant to how the artwork is presented. And so even online on DeviantArt, that is still extremely important, how you represent yourself and your signature as an artistic element. And so you have a heavy critique on that, like this ridiculous huge watermark, like I don't care for it. And like it's a relevant point, and it's often overlooked because of just like people not thinking about it, and also people getting a little overzealous on like how they want to protect their work, but also protecting your artwork is like a legitimate complaint. So like it's that toss up of how do you do a legitimate watermark and a legitimate signature whilst also not getting your artwork stolen and so on and so forth. And
yeah, well, and I think a great thing to round it off before we move on to the next one is we were talking last week about Jaded Jinx's when you weren't here, Burned. And Jaded Jinx's art had the DeviantArt, just kind of like the default DeviantArt signature that you can put on.
Oh, watermark just in the middle of it.
Yeah, the watermark. And like I commented on the fact that like actually DeviantArt's gotten really good at it, and it didn't stand out, and you could barely even notice it.
It's been getting much more subtle, which is really, really nice. Like they've been getting constant critiques and that their watermark is ridiculous.
Yeah, but anyways, so like I was looking at that and I was giving it credit and everything like that. But what I will say, it still does, regardless of how subtle it is, it will always remind me I'm looking at a digital piece on DeviantArt. It'll always, it'll never allow me to truly disconnect myself from the page that I'm on, like the fact that I'm sitting on a web page. And so it kind of takes me away from the potential scene that I could kind of live through.
See, that's really cool that you bring that up. Have you been kind of discussing any of that kind of digital media related contextuality in like in your college classes?
No, just kind of something I've been thinking about.
I'm taking a class right now, DTC 101, stands for Digital Technology and Culture 101, and we've read a paper recently on hypermediacy versus hypermediacy and intermediacy, I believe. I forget the actual term, but it's basically like immediacy. It's the concept of when you're looking at a medium, in this case being like digital technology, are you aware of the medium that is being presented to you? And so we're talking specifically about like hypertext and like web pages, right? And like web browsers. But it also pertains to things like artwork. Like if you look at an abstractionist artwork where it's just a bunch of paint like thrown at a canvas and you're looking at it in the real world, you're much more aware that this is just a bunch of paint on the canvas. But if you're looking at like a photorealistic painting, you're much less aware of the fact that this is like acrylic paint on a canvas. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So like when we're looking at this digital media, like when there's a giant glaring watermark on it, you're much more aware of the immediacy, or what is it, hypermediacy of that medium. Hypermediacy meaning that you're very hyper aware of the fact that this is a digital thing with a watermark on it, where if it's something more like this, of Bpone, it's much more immediate in that you don't notice the fact that it's like, I'm looking at a thing on my digital monitor. You're much more like wrapped in the fact that this is a very subtle piece and like the character and like the narrative going on and like the light colors, because there's not this glaring thing telling you like, hey, this is your computer screen, wake up type of deal.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so we've been
that's
reading and
an interesting
discussing a lot
concept.
about that stuff. And if anyone's curious and really, really wants to read more about that, we'll get off the subject now. But there's an article called Immediacy, Hypermediacy, and Remediation. It's actually a really long article in a book, but it's fascinating stuff.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that is absolutely relevant to what we were talking about. So that's awesome. But anyways, we should move on to the next art piece. So why don't you go ahead, Bernd? This is yours.
All right. So the piece I want to feature this week is called "Thank You" by Celebioshi, and we'll get into its context in a little bit. But one of the reasons why I wanted to feature it is because it was really relevant to the piece we just featured, because it now has Luna wearing a daisy kind of like flower headdress.
Yeah, I didn't even notice at first, but there is definitely a connection with the flowers that we totally, at least. I'm not saying it's unintentional, but I didn't even notice at first until Bernd pointed it out, and I went, "Oh yeah, I suppose there is."
Yeah,
I suppose there is.
What is it? I saw your artwork first, and I was like, "Okay, it's featuring this piece. So let's go see what's in my favorites." And then I noticed this piece. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I intended this. Like, sweet." But yeah, no, I really like this piece, and some more context behind it is it's actually a repainting of an old Luna piece that Celebioshi's done before, and but a couple of years ago, right? And so she redrew Luna once before, and now this is her third redraw of said Luna in a different style. And again, I believe it just turned out even more beautiful than its prior version. And I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the color choices and color composition. And again, even more context. The reason why this is called "Thank You" is because recently, I won't go into too much detail on our podcast, but Celebioshi has been going through some, we'll say personal problems and crisis, and there was a charity stream thrown together for her by some good friends of us and good friends of the show to help support her, and so she did this as a thank you to all the people who've been showing her support. So if you'd like to go show Celebioshi some support, you should go check her out on Patreon and DeviantArt, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, look at her beautiful artwork of Luna.
Yeah, well, and so this was an art piece that was kind of in response to that, which is why it's titled "Thank You." In addition, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was also something that she did for one of her university art classes. So she got to submit this, and so it gave her the time, because oftentimes at school, as many people can come to realize, you don't have a lot of free time to do stuff like draw ponies. And so she had the chance to do this for school, and so she was able to put in her full time, whereas previously she might not have been able to for some other art.
That's sweet. I wish I could submit ponies for my artwork. Oh wait, well, I did.
You did, though.
Yeah.
Don't you have a giant painting of yourself on the wall outside?
Yeah, that's true. I got an A on that.
I forgot about that until right now.
Yep, that's totally
awesome.
In my hallway.
Yep.
Speaking of which, there are funny stories I have to share on this podcast about Comcast workers walking into my room and their reactions of being surrounded by ponies. We'll get to that.
You'll have to save that time for another week. Yeah. So yeah, this is it's funny, we were talking about colors in the last one, and how there was such a huge diversity of colors, and yet they all seem the same. Whereas in this piece, I feel like there are a lot of colors being used, but they're all pushed towards one side or the other, right? We've got two big colors, which is kind of this yellowy, mostly yellow, but kind of orange color in the background.
This piece feels much more contrasting versus the last piece, which was much more analogous. Right.
So you got the yellowy orange in the background, and then you've got kind of like the bluey violety in the character and in obviously Luna. And so even though there's a wide variety of blues and violets, and there's a little bit of green and some browns and stuff like that, it's either it's pushed to one side or the other, right? The colors are shifted to be either towards the warm side or the cold side, and then they kind of cause a contrast. Even though they're not direct complements to each other, they're very close, and things are pushed towards the complementary side, as opposed to in the last piece when they were pushed towards the analogous side.
Yeah, absolutely. The color choices in this are kind of interesting, and I like I like the color choices that are used, because one, it's just very different. Because normally you see blue and orange, right? That's the go-to color complement.
Yeah.
And there's certain contexts that come with that. And we say that we like it on the show, and I definitely enjoy it. But it's also just I've grown to notice that it's very common to use, like
Incredibly
whether
common.
it's like action movies or online and art, and
Yep.
also the concepts of warm and cool are very common concepts to use. But in this one, in this piece by Silvioshi, it plays with both of those, and it's not super distinct. Like it's not super implicit in that, like, I'm gonna make this warm and cool, and I'm gonna make this blue and orange, because I feel like the strongest colors that I notice are like the blue of Luna, obviously, like in her hair, but then in the background in the daisies, it's much more yellow, like than it is orange. I find it's kind of like a warm yellow, right? So like it's definitely pushed like towards orange, but it's still very yellow.
Yeah,
And
I
so
absolutely agree.
yeah, even in the clouds and the daisies. And then where the orange does start to enter, it's in kind of like outlines, the sparkles, and then in the browns. So it's like, it's a very subdued, also like desaturated yet dark color in like the edges of the piece and like the edges of the clouds kind of away from everything. That's where the orange starts to come in. And then it doesn't feel very like implicitly warm because of like how dark it is. And so it's an interesting play of colors. But
Yeah, I think when we talk about like straight up compliments, sometimes people can get caught up in that because it's certainly the easiest way to show contrast between two different hues is to pick their complement. But I really enjoy the particular color that was chosen for the background because it still pops against the blue, but it's not a pure complement, right? And she uses other concepts as well mixed in, such as value, in order to continue keeping it popped, even though they're not perfect complementary colors. And it really it makes the piece feel fresh. Like you, Burned, I've seen so many pieces now that have blue and orange that it's almost boring. Because we know that
blurring,
blue
if
and
you will.
orange, it's blurring. Yeah, good one. We see it so often, and yes, it's effective, but it's also everywhere. Go look up movie trailer posters. It's everywhere. And so when I see something like this, where you've got the yellow and the blue, but it's kind of a shifted yellow, so it's a little bit orange, you still have a big contrast, and it's still interesting, and it's new. It's exciting to me because it's not such a simple contrast. It's more of a subtle one.
yeah. Some other areas of color that I noticed that I like in her shadow, kind of because there's a light source behind her, right, in the clouds that are being cast forward on her. The shadow underneath like her wings and her hair, like on the daisies, it's actually like a violet, and that violet kind of feels warm because of how like cool obviously Luna is, being that very bright like icy blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you were mentioning, I didn't even notice this until you mentioned it. The sparkles in her hair are quite orange. Again, because they're small, it's quite subtle in each one, right? But it does provide that interesting look to her mane, where things pop back and forth a lot between the two colors.
There's white in those sparkles, but like they have a glow on the outside of them that is kind of orange. So the sparkles kind of stand out even more from like her blue color scheme because of like the kind of compliment they bring in. And like I'm not sure if it's just like messing or tricking my eyes, or like if it's actually like violet over her blue, but
right. There's a term that's used for when a color when a light gets so bright that it turns to white in the center, right? And like it's almost like it's gone past the brightness scale and starts losing color. I can't remember what it's called. It might be called overglow. But it's a very interesting concept that you see a lot in very bright lighting and in video effects a lot. Mm-hmm. And this has reminded me from years ago when I learned how to do it in like Adobe After Effects that like, oh yeah, you can do it here too. Although it's not quite like that because it's not quite brilliant white in the center. Mm-hmm. So these aren't supposed to be super bright. But that's what it gives off, right? When you have that white in the center with the colored glow, it gives off the sense that it's really, really bright.
You had to blow this up on my monitor because over analyzing pony artwork is what we do.
Yep.
But in the middle of those tiny little sparkles in this art piece, there is a white center, and then it goes to yellow to orange and then to violet. And so it looks like they're orange sparkles like done in like the digital like Photoshop. I believe Silvioshi uses Photoshop. And then they're transparent. And so where they're transparent, they blend in with the blue of Luna and then create kind of like a violet, kind of like a deep violet. Right. And so that's kind of how those colors are playing with each other, and creates kind of a very unique effect, actually.
Yeah, the color transparency makes it look very interesting.
Yeah, so that's why it was kind of tricking me, because it's definitely like when we look at it as a whole, they kind of, you can definitely tell like, oh, those are kind of a different color than her mane, and they kind of look orange, but like when you actually like kind of blow it up, like there's kind of like a violet like edge.
There's a lot of
them.
violet for sure.
There's a lot of play in color going on here, folks. That's what we're getting down to. Even like the tips of her wings, you notice they have the same kind of like a violet top, yellow bottom. I really like that on both the tips of her wingtips, of her little feathers, her pointer feather, her index feather, if you will. It's got like a violet shade on one side and then an orange shade on another, which is like the reflecting color point.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. And then other than that, like the composition's cute, centralized pony, right? She's in the middle of the thing, and then she's got like petals like and wind kind of swirling around her.
Right.
So, right. I want to go sniff some daisies.
All right then. Well, that'll be so. It'll be podcast, then sniffing daisies, then second Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to help you schedule your day here, bro.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Well, let me just put that
important.
Put that in my iCalendar.
We might have to skip the second Thanksgiving thing. I'm just prioritizing things, you know.
I'm sorry, I can't go hang out with friends. I have to go sniff flowers.
It's very important. Very important. All right. Well, that is our art for this week. So thank you to the people who sent in art, which is they didn't send it out. We just completely ripped it off their page. But, you know, we're complimenting
it. Thank you for putting it on DeviantArt so we could take it for our show, for our games.
Like a small aside, we've done 175 episodes of this, which is ridiculous. I'm surprised nobody's ever been like, hey, you didn't get permission to use our art piece, which is nice.
How
because
dare
that would
you
have been
use
really,
my
really
art
annoying.
piece, feature it on the interwebs, and
talk
show
about how
it
good
to
it is.
hundreds of people, and then talk about what I did well. How dare you?
Yeah, we haven't had one single complaint, and I'm actually happy about that because that was something I kind of thought about when we first started this. And
we've always been like really positive focused on stuff, right? Like when we actually do step out of our way to kind of like offer critique
and we credit
on
them
something.
them not only with like stuff in the video, but also, you know, we have a favorites folder where you can go and find the actual art piece and link to the DeviantArt page.
When we do critique something, and when we step aside to do that, it's like we either know the artist or we're very cautious about it, and like we do like list what we enjoy first over like what we might actually offer as constructive criticism. Yeah, because we're not jerks.
Well, I should hope so.
Secretly, though.
Yeah. Outwardly, you know, we come off not as jerks. No, we're not jerks. Okay, so we have 6 questions, but I have a feeling we're not going to get through them all. So we're just going to kind of go at them, you know, as we will. I don't really have any.
Them. I love adding questions.
You're very funny to literally 4 or 5 people. So
I don't know what that means.
It's not a word. So I'm just going to pick one at random here. I'm going to start with an easy one, just a simple one.
Okay.
So this comes in from Cino, Cino, and they say, "Who's your favorite voice actor in general or on the show?" Meaning MLP. Thank you for specifying MLP, because otherwise we would have thought it was us. I would have said me.
Yep, definitely my own voice. I'm actually having troubles with my voice right now.
Yeah, well, I'll take it then. I'll take the first one here. So, I recently was having this conversation with another couple of friends of mine. They were asking me about voice actors and actresses because I was talking to them about my meeting of.
And I said to myself,
"No, I was talking about my meeting with them at different cons, and I have to say, my favorite voice actress would be Kathy Westluck, because there are a lot of voice actors and actresses that I admire for their voices, and there are a lot of voice actors and actresses that I admire for their personalities and who they are as a person. But I think Kathy Westluck has both of those. She's an incredible voice actress who can turn on voices like I haven't seen in person. And she is also a really awesome person who I enjoy talking to. So Kathy Westluck, and in case people don't know who that is the person who voices Spike, and I'm sure a couple of other ponies as well.
It's funny,
but yeah,
like,
she's awesome.
She the two like polarizing things that everyone knows is Spike and Mayor. Like she does both of those. And so like there's similarities there, but it's also just like very different, right? So like high pitched boy character, and then kind of like authoritative Mayor, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, that she would be my pick.
Yeah, cool. I know Kathy Westluck is a really awesome person. For me, I'm not like when I'm looking at ponies and like main 6, I'm not quite sure. It's hard for me to pick. I don't know if I have a favorite. I really like Tabitha St. Germain, just like how like kind of wild and crazy she is. 'Cause she's kind of known for that, for being very eccentric, even like in her personality. So I feel like she's really awesome in that regard.
Oh, and her voices are really good in the show
Yeah,
too.
awesome, and like she does a lot of them too, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but I feel like my favorite like standout voice actor is probably Discord. Just because like I just really like that character and I like how he portrays it, because like when John Delancey is the voice actor, voice acts as Discord, like he's not even voice acting as Discord, he's voice acting as John Delancey. Like he's quite literally playing himself. And so just kind of that almost like macho cocky role to just be like, I am going to voice act in my own original chaotic voice in which I made up, that has some sort of like weird British spin along with other things, and to do that like as a character and like rock it and have people love it, I really like that as like an idea and a concept. And so like he was super popular like as Q on Star Trek, and like that wasn't even voice acting, that was actual acting, like he was playing a character Q, and then he takes the kind of that same chaotic theme of Q and then literally plays it in like a My Little Pony character, and does an awesome job at it. And so I like that concept, and I really appreciate that. And so like, I think Discord just as like a voice is probably one of my favorites. But
Cool. Next question is from Nazagoring. And she asks, how does one get better at speaking on video or in blogs? I want to record blogs, but I'm not naturally someone who talks a lot. Were you all always good speakers to start with?
I totally just had this exact conversation with a friend of mine who was just texting me. If you heard my phone vibrating, it was a good friend of mine, Nick Haynes. I was actually just having this exact conversation with him in a bar where he was like, man, like you do all like this podcasting and stuff, and you're like, you're a confident speaker and all this, and like, he's been out of town a lot for like the past couple of years, and so he's like, man, like how you talk has changed. You're so confident now, and I'm like, wow, like that's kind of a crazy compliment to get, because like I definitely wasn't always this much of a confident speaker, right? So like he asked me the same question, like how did you get good at like talking on a podcast? And like quite honestly, like to answer this question, like from sucking at it really bad. Yep. Like when we first started the show, like I sucked really bad. Like I was really bad. Like I cringe when I listen to like our old our old Vector podcast. Like like I have a really hard time listening to that stuff. And so through talking in like into a microphone, like on video, and like talking with you, my friend, and talking with other friends, like I have become practiced at like speaking into a microphone, and hopefully like ordering things into coherent sentences, and then sometimes screwing up words, but that's okay because it's funny.
I definitely think like one of the reasons why I thought this question would be really cool for you to be on, Burned, was because you and I think are the most confident speakers on this podcast. But the difference is, when I started this podcast, I'd already been doing it for years. Was I as good as I am now? No. I still look back and go, ugh. But there was a difference when we started between like I'd done this kind of stuff before and you hadn't. And so I was really interested in hearing kind of your journey, whether or not you've noticed how much you've changed and how much you've gotten better.
Yeah, no, I have improved insane amount, to the point where like kind of still surprises me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from advice standpoint, honestly, the only way you can do it is to practice. And a lot of the times that means you just have to be thrown into the deep end and try and record something. And if it doesn't come out good, toss it and try again. That's what I did with my 3 other co-hosts on this podcast. I threw them into the deep end and I said, you're going to learn. And
you did.
Everybody did. Joel doesn't talk that much, but when he does talk, he's a pretty confident speaker. Ted's improved a lot. He used to be the same as Joel, where he would just say nothing. And nowadays he has so much to say that he gets annoyed at us when we talk over him. And Burned, obviously you improved very quickly, which was great. But sometimes you just need to do that. Sometimes you need to be thrown into the deep end and just go for it. And the amazing thing about speaking on video or in blogs or little snippets like that by yourself is that you can just toss them out if you think that they're bad. Just keep trying and keep going until you are so bored of whatever the heck you're talking about that it becomes a script, and then suddenly it's like, oh, look, that was actually really good.
It's hard when you're doing certain videos, though, right? So, like, if you're doing something like a tutorial like Naz would do, it's like an hour or something long, and so it's hard to throw that away and redo it, especially, like, when you're sewing a plushie. Like, what are you going to do? Like, rip all the seams out?
Yeah.
So
that's the magic of editing.
Luckily, you make a lot of plushies, so you have a lot of times to try. But... I mean, it's that trial and error, it's that practicing, and like I feel like I took to it quickly because like I definitely have a confidence underneath me, and we've talked about how like doing this podcast, going to conventions is kind of like unlocked that confidence. But like I basically just I haven't been scared of it, and so it's harder for like I'm gonna use Ted as an example because like when he joined the podcast, he was kind of just so soft spoken, like sort of a shy man in certain aspects of just like talking or whatever. But like being on this podcast is like it's really like opened him up, and he's really awesome at talking and saying things that he like knows about and wants to talk about now on the podcast because he's had that comfortability with it, that practice with it. And so sometimes when people are even like as a personal basis, like talking in conversation, like they're kind of a soft speaker in general, it's maybe because they don't have a lot of practice with that, right? Like, do you actually like go out to like 2 bars or 2 parties and try to initiate conversation and like are really good at that? And if the answer is no, well then it's probably like, you know, why it's kind of hard with like videos and blogs. But like
for sure.
I started going out and doing that and going to conventions, and so I became better at it because I wanted to practice at it. I looked at like what I was bad at and like what I felt like is like bad parts of conversation or interviews, and then looked at what is like what you should do. And so like on a podcast, when I first started the show, what I used to really like critique myself on and listen to myself and like be like and like cringe at, like, man, I have to fix that, is saying okay, and like those awkward noises, like I still do them now and then because they're part of natural conversation, but I used to do it a lot. Like if you watch the first couple like months of our podcast, like I would say a lot. Like every other sentence I would say and so I tried to
construct sentences without doing that,
and that's just part of like kind of that's public speaking 101, right? Is like don't do that. So like you can easily go look up YouTube videos and stuff like how to be a better public speaker or how to speak more profoundly or whatever, and then take kind of those bases and apply them to, you know, like saying like talking in a video or a blog. And it's just like it's one, it's knowing your subject, and 2, it's just kind of like being confident that you're going to talk about that subject, and then how, and then not say and whatever. And like you can always ask people for help too, like, hey, you're here asking us for help, but like we made this podcast with each other and then put on the YouTube and then like got critiqued about it, right? And so like you can get critique on like public speaking, you know what I mean?
And you're going to have to just accept the fact that it, much like art, it's going to suck at first, right? So just continue to put it out there and accept the fact that there's going to be a little bit of time where it's not the best that it could be. But realize that you recognizing that's not the best it can be has already shown that you're kind of growing in that regard. And, you know, the fact that we can look back on these first podcasts and go, what were we thinking for certain decisions, right? Like that just shows how much we've grown. And that's just kind of a natural process. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite, one of the wise words of wisdom from one of my favorite cartoon characters is sucking at something is the first step to becoming sort of good at something. So like we sucked really bad at this podcast, or at least I did, and now I'm kind of sort of good at this whole podcasting thing. And most importantly, I really enjoy it. It's fun. I love doing it, and that has been my main motivating factor to keep doing it because I like doing it.
That's a huge part of what you need to you need to want to do it.
So like if you make these videos and you want to make these videos and like you think they're fun and you get on a camera and then people are like, man, thanks for making that tutorial even though your voice sucked. If you had fun doing that, then sweet. Then you're going to become better at it and you're going to become good at it and you're going to be the best horse sewer together plushie maker ever.
Yeah.
So we, the CAC, support you and other aspiring podcast makers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's take one that is a bit light after that one.
Okay.
Let's go to the one by Late Customer or Dave Pone.
Dave.
And this is a bit of a long one, so I'm going to go through it quickly here.
Oh my, that's some text.
Twilight has a spell go horribly wrong. The spell takes the main 6, literally combines them in pairs of 2s,
Perfect.
and spits out 3 ponies, which are the essence of 2 of the main 6. Example, you get a pony that is both Twilight and Pinkie Pie, mashed together. But there's somebody new. blah blah blah. Which pony combinations would you like to see, and could you describe how you think they would be? And I've got the perfect answer for this. Because I think if you put Rainbow Dash and Twilight together into one pony, you'd get me. So there you go. I think you'd be very similar to me. I don't know what else you want from that, because trying to describe a character's entire personality is quite difficult. But there you go.
Yeah.
Put Twilight and Dash together, you get me.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting concept,
demon
and so
spawn
it
would you like
relates
to see
to
burned?
another demon spawn. This relates to another fandom aspect that I am a big fan of, which is Steven Universe. And so Steven Universe actually plays with this concept called fusion,
Right.
Where two gems will fuse
Yep.
Or bond together. And it is literally like the sum of their two wholes becomes
make a new person,
new whole and a new being. And they are physically like a new person, and it is the sum of both of their like best traits and also their flaws. And they like have basically a completely new person and new personality where they share those. And so in the My Little Pony world, this is kind of an interesting concept, because it's like they have these very polarized personalities, right? Which have their faults, but then you like stick two of them together, and it's like, oh my. And so it's kind of an advanced concept to look at them as a new combined person. And I don't know if I have any like opinions on like the characters bonding, right? So it's like if Applejack and Rainbow Dash like got bonded together, because you know it's like a really popular ship, so to speak. It's like they're both seen as really strong characters, except one is like very kind of modest and honest, and then the other one's very like Rainbow Dash being the, I don't know, what do you want to say, the braggy one, so to speak. And so it's like, what would you get? Like a pony who's like really big on humble bragging, you know, like really full of himself, like really full of herself, but tries not to be, and just like humble brags all the time. Just like, man, like I tried to reach for this hay through a grate, but my muscles were too big or something.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I started thinking about the other pairings, and the way that he worded the question was that there was going to be three of them, right? So it's almost like you couldn't combine one that you've already combined. You know what I mean? And so in my head, I was like, okay, well, in my world, if Twilight and Rainbow Dash were combined together, who's left? And you mentioned Applejack, and my mind immediately went to, what if it was Applejack and Fluttershy put together? So you got this kind of shy person who's actually really awesome on the farm, gets along with the animals there, you know, really just like one with nature and farming and everything like that, is a bit shy about it, but ends up being really, really awesome at it.
Yeah, and is like still like really strong, but doesn't kind of like show it off.
Yeah. A little bit kind of like Big Mac in a way, but you know, combining more of the Fluttershy elements with like good with animals. So not just good with plants and trees, but good with animals too, and just like kind of a nature. I think that's a really cool thing, because I think it's more than just the sum of parts. And then the last one, I was like, okay, well, those are four gone, so the last one is Pinkie Pie and Rarity.
Oh my gosh, what about like Pinkie Pie and Rarity? See, that's a sweet one, because there's a character in Steven Universe that's kind of like this super showboaty like diva character, and is like, look at me and how fantastic I am. Like that is how Rarity and Pinkie Pie would be, because Pinkie Pie is like super over the top and super social, and then like Rarity's kind of this diva, and so she can be very eccentric, but imagine like hyper eccentric, right?
Can you imagine the creative energy?
Oh my.
Like when you combine those two, right? Like that's insane, right? Because Pinkie Pie's creative in like outbursty party ways, but then Rarity's creative in her kind of meticulous way. When you put those together, like I think those are the two most creative characters put together, and that's like, whoa.
I just picture this crazy, like basically if Lady Gaga was a pony, like that's what I see.
Right.
Yeah, that's it right there. Pinkie Pie and Rarity together is basically Lady Gaga pony, like bam, like right there.
I'm going to preface this with the fact that Burned hasn't watched the last 3 episodes, and that's all I'm going to say.
Dang it! Now I need to go watch the 3 episodes. Spoilers!
Yeah, you do. But yeah, like I just think that the creative energy between them would be really awesome. And so like I like the three that in my universe, I like the three that got put together there, because you've got me, and then you've got this kind of like all around nature super person that's very modest and shy about it.
I imagine
if
if
super creative
Twilight and Fluttershy went together, they'd basically just become a druid, like super magical tree hugger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. You start assigning classes to them.
Yeah, because I mean, her special talent is magic, right? And so like she's...
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you combine Twilight with someone, it has to be a class. In like D&D.
Because like Twilight is basically kind of just that mage, you know, the like magic is kind of a consideration in arcane, kind of like pure forms of magic, right? But when you start like combining it with other characters, like Fluttershy specifically, like you get like towards nature, right? So then that magic becomes focused towards nature, and when you combine her with something like Rarity, like now that magic becomes like, you know, much more like
freeze.
Flashy,
it's a freeze mage.
Something. Sure.
Ice mage. Beautiful ice.
She's basically that deer from Fighting is Magic.
Exactly. That deer.
Oh man.
It's Velvet. Yeah, I know it's Velvet. But
you should know.
I wanted to just call her Ice Butt.
Ice Butts.
But yeah, Ice Butts. Icy Butts. Icy Butts. What's that from? Oh, that's
the thing I like saying.
Spicy Butts.
Spicy Butts.
Right.
Hot spicy butts.
Hot spicy butts.
I got that from Cherno, who's a popular Twitch streamer.
Before we started this, both Aggie and Chino told me we should make a butts episode this week. So that's for them. That's for them.
There you go.
Cool.
You got your butts.
Well, there you go. There's some interesting concepts we threw your way, and we're actually at an hour now. So
that was only 3 questions. You promised me 6.
We were only at 3 questions. So, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to rapid fire these, I don't think that any of these next 3 are ones that we could rapid fire. So we'll leave those for another time. And so that will be our question section for today.
Just leave them as used this week.
Or the week after, or whatever. Whatever works. Anyways, that is everything for our show. So we need to go to the plugs. So, Bern, do you want to do them or do you want me to do them?
Sure, I'll do them, since you did the intro. So our plugs, where you can find us. The first one is Gmail. You can send us email at cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. We have a DeviantArt, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. We have a Tumblr, which is, again, cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com. And then we have a Picardo, which is picardo.tv/cutieartcrusaders. And then we have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/cutieartcrusaders. And then lastly, we have a Twitter, which is @cutieartcrusade, which is the only odd one out of the bunch.
Yes. And I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Which you're watching this on, probably.
Yeah, you're probably watching this on youtube.com/cutieartcrusaders, of course. So yeah, that is everything for this week. I wanted to mention one more thing that I just thought about right now. As we are up at American Thanksgiving and my birthday, this is the time of year in which we start, well, first of all, we start going into exams, but regardless of that, we start thinking a little bit about Christmas, because we're now in December, at least when this airs.
The Christmas music's already playing on the radio.
It is.
The decorations.
Did you see Ted's Facebook Thanksgiving photos?
He sent me a Snapchat where he was wrapped as a present.
What? It's all like Christmas.
Yeah,
stuff.
his family tradition apparently is to get together for Thanksgiving and then decorate the house for Christmas.
Yeah. So
gosh darn it, the Jajenko family.
Nice. So yeah, Christmas is coming up soon. So I don't know if people want to submit Christmas themed questions. We've got a couple of Christmas themed questions that we're going to use, but if you want to send in even better ones, feel free to.
Christmas themed art as well.
Yeah, holiday-themed art or questions or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, holiday-themed, because we're not just only Christmas here on the community.
Yeah. So yeah, because Joel is Jewish, so, Hanukkah is a thing, too.
Candle holiday.
So, yeah, we've got a couple of weeks here before Christmas. Funnily enough, Christmas is on a Friday this year, so that's interesting. I'm not sure if we've ever had that before.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we'll figure out what we're doing for that. But we're eventually going to have a Christmas episode, or holiday episode. Damn it. So yeah, feel free to send in art or questions or stuff like that, and we're going to try and use those on the show. So you can send it to us in a variety of different ways. Easiest one is probably our email, cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. You can ignore the fact that my voice just cracked.
Yeah, no, that never happened. I didn't hear that very blatant crack.
Okay, cool. That is everything for this show.
Oh, man. You know what you sound like? been playing Fallout 4, and there's a super awkward radio guy. He's just like the epitome of like awkwardness, and he's like plays on the radio station. He's the best.
If I watched more Rick and Morty, I'd do a Morty impression, but I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't. So I'll just stick with this one for now.
It's basically just that, but with like some voice cracks. Like, come on, Morty.
And saying the word Rick.
Like, I don't think it's a good idea, Rick.
I don't think it's.
I don't think I should put a laser in there. I think it's a really bad idea.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube, we are actually, I just remembered this before we sign off, we're not going to have a spoiler cast this week because like everybody's away. So we're going to hold off on that one, and we're going to try to have a 4-man spoiler cast so that we can talk about the season finale and the season in a whole. But we're going to have to do that sometime other than this week. So we'll figure that out at some point, but that will be coming your way eventually. So no spoiler cast this week, but without further ado, my name is Rainbow Plasma.
My name is Burn.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Morty.